And welcome back to the CODEJO podcast, everybody. We're on episode 7. Cole and Matt here, and this is kind of an important one for us, and we're going to celebrate it a little bit because for those that don't know, episode 7 is the average cutoff point for the new podcast.
So most people quit by episode 7 or after 7, something like that.
And right? I don't think we know whether it's episode 7, which they don't get to, or if it's episode 8 that they don't get to, but we're going to get to episode 8 no matter what.
I'm still excited about it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. And I guess the thing is, this kind of goes back to what you and I are always talking about, which is just get started, which is something that we definitely did with this podcast. And the interesting thing about that, I kind of want to take a point to mention this too. It seems obvious probably to those watching that the quality from the last few episodes has increased dramatically, even maybe to this one. Hey, guess what? We figured out lighting. That's pretty cool. But no, I mean, like that first episode that we did, we're going to leave that up. And it's important for people to see, like, we did not have everything figured out in that episode. It wasn't, I mean, we
didn't have stuff figured out in this episode. Just now. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, because I want you to keep that train of thought. But like you had said something maybe before we recorded the last episode, and you were saying like, what? Like you were asking me like sarcastically, like, oh, so you're wondering why people give up on this stuff, or why everyone doesn't do this because they can just be rich. And you were obviously joking because it's hard.
Yeah.
Like you've gone through a bunch of equipment. Like you do all of the work for like figuring out the audio and like the lens, and we rented a lens today and it didn't work.
Yep.
So there is like it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, like I struggle with this sometimes, even with some of my buddies, or maybe not even buddies, but just people that I come across in life that want to do something, and they'll say something to me like, well, I don't know what kind of this I would need to do that, or I don't know what I would need to learn to do that part. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, everything that I've done, including this podcast, we had no idea. I mean, the first episode that we did was literally just in a room we're still in a room in my house, but it was in a room with no backdrop, no nice TV that says CODESHO podcast.
Webcams like strung up across the room.
Yeah, I mean, literally go back to the first episode. You have a little webcam like hung over your computer.
Oh, yeah.
So, but like, you just got to do that. And then we get through that episode, and and by the way, in that episode, we had like major audio problems. One problem we didn't realize was that you can't have two of the same USB microphone plugged into one computer.
So we had to get something like this.
Yeah, we had to get something like this at first. That failed.
What do you call this?
This is called an audio interface.
Okay, yeah. So we had to buy this audio interface.
But before we even had that, we had that cheap little mixer that we thought was the right solution, and that wasn't the right solution either. So, I mean, you got to get through these things and realize, okay, that part didn't work. Why didn't that work? Okay, replace that. I mean, right now, I'm probably Amazon's worst enemy because I keep buying stuff and I'm like, oh, nope, that wasn't the right thing. Return, and then I'm getting something else. Luckily for Amazon, I'm spending a ton of money. Just both of us are trying to get this thing going. But it takes trying things and realizing they didn't work. And like you said, today we got that lens. We rented a lens, and it's not going to work.
It doesn't work with our camera in this room.
Yeah, it's like way too. It appears to be way too zoomed in. It
looks good though. It would look good.
It looked really good. And I mean, the problem that we had here, we are talking about all the background of it, but maybe people want to hear this. If you're trying to start up a podcast, maybe this is good to hear. One problem that we had was we've been trying to have this like low light setting, and the lens that we were using before just wasn't good with low light. So we rented this lens. It's supposed to be super good with low light, but it's way too zoomed in. So then we try this morning, like the lighting to me on the video looks way better now. But I think it's just because we actually added more light to the room, adjusted the settings, and then it all turned out good instead of having, like, I guess that's the thing is like all along we had the right thing. We just didn't have it set up right.
Yeah.
And every episode we're tweaking, trying to get things better and better, but we just had to get started and keep pushing through it. And then, I mean, now for us, we're at a point where we are at episode 7. I could probably see why a lot of people fail right here because it's been painful. Like you said, it's been really tough.
Yeah. And and we have this schedule of doing it every Saturday. Mm-hmm. But there's been at least once, and now we're going to have to schedule it again where we did it during the week. And like, if we didn't schedule it during the week, I mean, I think that we would do it anyway because we're so excited about this.
Yeah.
And for like lots of different reasons. But maybe it would have been easier to skip that week. That's my point.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Instead, I came over and we were here until midnight, which maybe doesn't sound that late, but I get up at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So Yeah, like, so there's just, no matter what, whenever you're learning or starting anything, there is challenges.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think it is cool, though, because now that every single episode, we really focused on making one thing better. Mm-hmm. It's funny, like all these conversations we have before we start is always like, okay, this one's going to be way better. Okay, this one's going to be the best one. And then we have a problem. Hit a problem, hit a problem, hit a problem. But we're just like, you know what? We know we're going to keep doing this. I'm not going to accept the problems that we're having. We're going to get it better each time. Just keep pushing through it. And I mean, the outcome is that, like, really, like, look at the first episode versus this one, and just the quality is insane.
So this concept, as you're talking about this, we talked about this idea in the first episode, and then I talked about that book, So Good They Can't Ignore You. If the thing that you're focused on, because there's going to be hard stuff, like whether you're learning to code or not, whatever, there's going to be hard stuff. If you just don't worry about that, focus on getting good. Like if you're trying to play guitar, it's going to be hard. You're going to get blisters on your fingers, right? Like you're going to feel like your fingers are too fat for the fretboard, and it's like your pinky doesn't do what it wants to do. So, but just focus on, okay, what do I actually need to get really good?
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that is what we're doing. Maybe it's because I don't think we're better at it, but as programmers who constantly learn, we just are prepared for that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think also one thing that people like to see is that come up, see the origin, see where he came from.
Yeah.
There's that guy, I think his name's Marcus or whatever. He's really big on YouTube. He does like reviews of tech equipment and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he's huge now. I mean, the guy's like off interviewing people from Apple, interviewing Elon Musk. He had an interview with Bill Gates. Wow. Like he's doing all sorts of really cool stuff. And one thing that people like about him so much is that you can go back to the beginning of his channel and see his original videos. And it's funny because he's just some young kid. And I think his first episode was him reviewing this little remote control that came with his HP something. Maybe it was a laptop or I don't know what it was. But it's really cool because it's just this kid that he loves technology. Yeah. He wants to show people about it. And like in a way, we kind of share that same spirit in that we just love programming. We want to teach people about it. And I mean, we're not afraid to show the journey along the way or talk about it. You know what I mean?
I think
it's not some facade that we're trying to put on. Like,
yeah, I think that's the authenticity that we're trying to bring.
Yeah,
that's definitely a part of it. I don't like it when, like, sometimes you'll see. So I do like YouTube videos when they keep up their original content. I really do like that. And there is a couple of other YouTubers that I watch who have done the same thing. I don't like it when you'll see somebody like their first video and it looks like super polished and like they're super comfortable in front of the camera, because what I think right away is, oh, they deleted like 10 or 100 videos, and maybe that's I don't know, maybe it was about a different topic or something, but I think like that's not the character that I want to cultivate. I don't want it to be fake. I don't mind that. Like, because I do my own YouTube channel as well, and it's garbage, so it's don't watch it. I'm just saying, I'm not recommending people watch it. It's boring, but I do that to talk in front of the camera and just feel more comfortable. And I'll keep those up as well, but it's like I don't expect anybody to watch it. But I like that as a learning tool. I like that as a learning tool.
Yeah, people like that, and they like the like I said, that Marcus guy, because they like seeing, like, I mean, imagine if you were some aspiring YouTuber, you don't want to see you made it. I mean, it's like it's easy to look at millionaires and be like, oh, I want a yacht or whatever, but how exactly did you get there? And I hope we can always leave up all of our content. I actually, little shameful plug here, I actually did delete the original. I still have the videos. Maybe we'll put them back up at some point. But I did delete the original iOS course videos that we had. That's only because I replaced them with newer content. Those didn't really have views anyways. And by the way, those didn't impact the channel at all. Like it's not like we use that to grow or anything. But anyways, I mean, I hope that if at some point this does grow to be a lot bigger, hopefully people can watch it and see how we did it, and then maybe we can talk about it too. But it'll all be there. It'll all be out in the open.
Yeah, I like that.
But maybe, I mean, the purpose of this episode, we want to talk a little bit about like celebrating victories, because if you're going to go do anything huge or profound in your life or career or whatever, like there's going to be victories along the way. It's appropriate to celebrate those, because one of two things can happen. You don't celebrate, you get burned out, and you kind of lose sight of what it is that you're doing. And then there's the people that celebrate too much. And you were saying something before this episode, before we started recording, about success can sometimes breed failure.
So I have, it's weird how I am, because in some ways I'm pretty strict on myself, and in some ways I'm not. So I'll talk about these two scenarios. When it comes to learning or anything, when it comes to my career, right? I am always like looking up. And so when I get a new job, like I might be excited about this new job. I'm not necessarily looking for a new job immediately. That would be dumb maybe. But what I do think is, like now, like just because I got hired, now isn't the time to relax. I got to keep getting better.
Yeah.
Right? I want to make sure I don't get fired, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So there is something to celebrate. Hey, cool, I just got a job. Maybe, $10,000 raise or whatever. Programmers make good money, so you can get big raises. Some X amount of raise, and there is room to celebrate there. But I'm still looking up and going, okay, I'm excited for my next raise, or what else am I going to do? I can't just relax now. Versus that's like my career life versus like my weight loss life. And so I used to be much thinner, and I used to exercise more, and it just dropped off. And so I will lose weight every now and then. Like we'll go on a diet, or like I'll go on a diet and I'll start exercising, I'll lose some weight, and then for whatever something happens, it's like, oh, I lost 10 pounds, time to celebrate. Right? And I might celebrate by like eating some cheesecake or something. Yeah, it's like so that's the thing is, I do think it's good if you have some long-term goal. We talked about this in the first episode as well. If you have some long-term goal, you do need to celebrate like these mini milestones. It's important to break that larger goal into smaller goals, and it's good to celebrate those so you have some fun along that journey.
Yep.
But I just think you have to be careful with that. Don't fall off. And also I could be fired from my current job right now if I decide like, well, I have the job. I don't need to keep learning about Android.
Yeah,
That's just, to me, that's the bad attitude to have.
Yeah, I think every time that I pick up talking, I always say, I think I'm going to work on that. I'm going to stop saying, I think. No, anyways, I lost my train of thought. No, what I was going to say is I think that most like really successful entrepreneurs or whatever, they all do this same thing, which is that like they never have this attitude of like, I made it, like I'm finally done.
Now I get to be done.
Yeah. So if you want to be successful, it does seem like that's something that you need to represent, that attitude of like, I'm not going to get there. But because you're never going to get there, if you never celebrate along the way, you're never going to have that like final celebration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to keep celebrating along the way, but at appropriate points. Like I actually knew a developer in college, and we were in a Java course together, and this dude used to drive me crazy because we did this thing at the beginning of the course where we like got matched up with partners or whatever that were supposed to be like study partners or whatever. And I think this guy did like programming. I'm trying to remember his name. Doesn't matter. I think he did like programming, but we used to meet up, and I was getting ready. Like I'd be like, hey man, let's go meet at this coffee shop. And I'm prepared to be there for 3, 4, 5 hours. I mean, this is tough stuff. We're learning programming. It's hard. And I just remember like 30 minutes in, it would be like, he'd nail like a loop, and he'd be like, oh, dude, yes, like, like we're done. Like, you want to go to the bar or whatever? Like, no, dude, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm not done. So he used to celebrate those victories too early, and I think that maybe, I don't know where he's at now, but maybe it harmed him in the long run, because it was like, boom, achieve some small milestone, celebrate like crazy, and then I'll pick up on the other stuff later. Like, that's not good either.
Yeah.
There's two different ways of looking at it. But yeah, celebrating too often or not celebrating enough, they can both be really bad.
Well, I just think you have to have, I think it's like I think there's ego, or maybe it is just like being humble. You do need to recognize, okay, cool, I learned loops. Or like we even said, in one of our YouTube videos, like, oh, you did like a hello world. You've just made an app. Here, right? Even though it's really simple, like celebrate that. That is cool, but also recognize And it's hard at the beginning, but recognize how far you do need to go. So again, break things up into mini goals. Nothing wrong with that. But also, don't celebrate too hard when you've just like the gun just fired on the race. Like you took your first step, and that's great. So like there's a balance there. I also had something that I was thinking about. You were talking about how entrepreneurs are always talking about like they're never done. Right? It doesn't feel like there's a finish line. I would say this to my students a lot, and I think every programmer that you ever meet, we always talk about you never actually stop learning, right? Or at least you shouldn't. Like if you want to keep your job, I have known people who have just done like COBOL for like 40 years or whatever. But yeah, like I think sometimes, and I have met people who have that attitude of like, well, I'm going to go to college. Or I went to college for 4 years, or I'm finally done with high school or college or whatever. I'm done learning.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this just started.
I like Matt. I don't know if you've ever heard this quote by Matthew McConaughey, but he said, I think maybe somebody asked him, like, who do you look up to? And his answer was something like, I look up to myself 10 years from now. Like, I'm always chasing myself 10 years from now. And at first, it sounds kind of like some dorky cliche, but I think it's cool because it's like, then you can never achieve that. He's saying, I'm always now trying to be who I am in 10 years.
No, I've never heard that before, but I do love that. The idea, I read so many books that talk about like, picture yourself in 10 years. Where would you like to be?
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess it's the same thing, but if you are like, if you should, instead of comparing yourself to others, it's so hard to compare yourself to like Bill Gates or Elon Musk. Right. But like, if you compare yourself, like who would I like to be? Not just like money wise, but like what type of person would I like to be in 10 years? And then just keep steering towards that goal. Yeah. I like that, actually. That does sound nice.
Yeah, and just as often as you are evaluating where you're at right now, you should also be reevaluating those goals that you've got. Like, I don't know of any, I mean, I'm not surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurs or anything, but I've worked for a lot of them. And that's another thing that I think they all do, which is that we tend to get in this mindset. I definitely do this as a developer a lot of times, is I'm always evaluating where am I at right now, like what skills have I acquired, but I don't as often evaluate my goals again, and I need to get better about that. I need to do that too. Like, whereas I'm evaluating my skills every month or so, or every 2 weeks or whatever, like I'm looking at where I'm at, how much do I know this new thing, whatever. But it's probably only every year that I'm like, okay, now what's my new 10-year goal? Where do I want to be? Obviously, with you and I doing this podcast, we both share that same goal of like, well, we want to have a big YouTube channel. But I mean, just as much as we're offering this advice, we should also be practicing the same thing. And maybe this would actually be really good for the channel, and maybe really good for the podcast, is for us to say, like, we're going to put in some concrete milestones, because if we're going to sit here and talk about it and tell everybody how they should be doing it, maybe it would be worth it for you and I to sit down and say, like, okay, this is what we're going to try to achieve. And then everybody can see that process. These guys are telling us what to do, but let's see them do it.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Like, that puts us under the fire a little bit.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good idea. Me and my wife did actually just do something like this. We went on vacation and we wrote, I guess it was kind of like a bucket list. It wasn't necessarily, I mean, in the end, that does sound like goals. So some of it was like, because I used to live in Korea. So I would like to, at some point, go back and live in Korea for like at least a year. I want to study Korean again. I'd like to go and live in Japan for like 3 months. Or like live in Thailand for 3 months, because you can do that with like an American visa. You can like travel for like 3 months. I think that would be really fun. I've been to Japan, but for like just a weekend. Like I think I've been there like five or six times.
Dang,
but just for like
I really want to go.
It was fun, and the sushi is really delicious.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So we wrote down stuff like that. So some of it was like relationship goals, but some of it was also like career goals. And again, it's not goals. It's more just like things we would like to achieve. So one of them was, I hope this YouTube channel gets 1 million subscribers. Like, I don't know how to do that except for engage people and not quit. But like, obviously, like, let's build good content. But yeah, like, I don't mind. It doesn't have to be that, but like, we can figure out some goals or some milestones. Episode 7. Okay. Well, actually, we are doing it. We're literally doing what we're saying right now. Because the whole point of this episode is like, celebrate mini milestones, but don't give up.
Yeah.
And we're literally talking about that right now. So yeah, we have episode 7. Okay, cool. What next? 1 million subscribers. Like obviously that's a big one, but like, yeah, I like that we're even talking about this. So we should do something. Maybe we can add something on our website. Right now,
we need to finish the website.
But
that's probably a good milestone. We can commit to that on the podcast. I mean, that's been my responsibility mostly. I got pretty far on it, but I think what's today? Today's July 11th.
11th, yeah.
I think I'll set my first little milestone. I'd say by August 1st, there's no reason that shouldn't be done.
Okay.
So we'll get the website up. And the basic purpose of the website, I mean, I hope that the website's just an all-inclusive environment for people that like our content and want to learn, because hopefully everything that we talk about, we can represent in every facet of this project, of this company, whatever. We definitely want to keep with that. I mean, obviously, like the whole purpose of this is to teach people programming, but we also want to talk about the books. You're big on the books. We're going to have a whole section on the website about what books to be reading and whatnot. But also, I think this is where you were going, is maybe we can put up a section on the website that has our milestones on it. And
stuff like that, yeah.
If we meet them, we'll put it up, and if we don't, we don't. I think another milestone that we need to commit to is getting an Android course done. That's going to take a little bit longer, but possibly the end of the year.
Yeah, so it just depends on, I guess it depends on where our priorities are. So like, because we still have some work on the iOS course, but yeah, like that's a possibility. Like, I mean, we can, if we want to get the Android thing started, because then we open it up to more people.
We talked about this morning. I don't know. I'd be curious to get people's thoughts on this. I think we want to. I mean, I'm going to assume that most people getting into the world of mobile development probably want to be familiar with both. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to be an iOS developer. But hopefully we can create courses that kind of are similar for iOS and Android, so that you can draw those parallels if you want to learn Android as well. But I mean, we are passionate mobile developers. You're also a game developer, and eventually I think we want to do that as well. But the thing that we share is mobile development, and I think that's, I mean, it seems to me like that's our goal, is to get as many people into mobile development as possible.
Yeah. If we got so many big dreams here.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, maybe this is another cool thing about what we're doing, is we can have all these milestones that we talk about all the time. There's just an endless amount of content that we can create for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is really cool. I mean, that's an important part of this too, is if you're going to be setting up goals and stuff, make sure that you're setting up goals that have a lot that you can do in between. You know what I mean? Like, it could branch into so many different directions. Like, I don't know, if we look at something, I'm trying to come up with a really basic example, but like, I don't know, if you're trying to just ride a bike or something, I don't know, that's a really bad example, but like that's the end. There's really nowhere to go after that. It's cool to set up a goal, like if you're interested in learning programming, that's a huge one, because that can branch into so many different directions. And that makes it really exciting. Like, I don't know, I like the idea of saying, I've got this goal, like for us it's to be entrepreneurs, course creators, whatever. We have no idea where that ends. We have no idea where we're going to be a year, 2, 3 years from now. All we can do is just keep pushing in that direction and not stopping. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, it's just like, there's a couple of people who talk about this. They talk about in Atomic Habits, there is a slight danger between of just having goals, and that's what you said with like the bicycle. I think a better one is losing 10 pounds, right? A lot of times people will have that goal of losing 10 pounds, and then they might even achieve that, and now they have nothing else, right? They didn't transition it into like once they achieve it, they're just like, that goal is done. I did lose the 10 pounds. What now? Right? And so Atomic Habits talks about it is important to have goals, but also be building the systems. So like the system is like, I go to the gym every day, or I study programming every day, or I'm trying to learn something new every week, or something like that. And so, or like, for us, there isn't necessarily an end goal, because we don't know where it is. Like, what's the goal of CODEJO, and when will it be complete? ? Obviously, like, there isn't one. But so I do kind of agree. Like, you have to be careful what you're setting up,
Yeah, it's almost like with the weight loss one, like the goal should be, I want to be healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then along the way you can lose that weight. And that's another one. That's a personal one but that's what's interesting to me is I feel like I have zero problem being disciplined and being like just a driven whatever go-getter when it comes to stuff like programming because I'm passionate about it and I like it. But I mean, there's probably no excuse for me being, I'd say, 20 or 30 pounds overweight. Like, I need to be. So why is it so much? I mean, maybe that's something that we can talk about. Like, why is it so hard to do something like lose weight versus programming? And I think the thing is that, like, with programming, it was easy for me because I really liked it and I knew how much better my life would be if I got it to a place that I wanted to be in. But like losing 30 pounds is tough because it's like, I would love to look better. But I'm kind of the person that, like, I don't know if I really care what other people think. I want my wife to think I'm sexy, but like, I don't know if I really care about anybody else. So it's really hard. Like, you really got this is why I know I repeat this every single episode of the podcast, but like, I hate that, especially seems like in a lot of colleges, they're teaching students things that they're not excited about. And like, that's not going to get that person to where they want to be. I'm not as excited about losing 30 pounds as I am about making an app or something like that. You know what I mean? Or building this YouTube channel. Building the YouTube channel is a lot.
Feels more exciting.
Yeah, it feels more exciting and it's easier.
Like,
But like, if I could apply that discipline to losing weight, I'd have a 6-pack, 8-pack.
Here is my personal problem, and this is something we can call this an excuse too, but here's my excuse anyway. I do try to be disciplined in work. My wife is always impressed and happy to be married to somebody who is very diligent about their career. But like, dinner time is, and we actually do intermittent fasting, and I do try to wake up and like, we walked like 3 hours today. It was pretty hot.
Yeah.
But like, the dinner time tends to be more of like a release valve.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and actually her cooking isn't even unhealthy, but the problem is, like, I'll get sweets or whatever. Yeah. Like, I'll eat Twizzlers or Milk Duds or whatever. Right. So I could probably simplify it by just eliminating that stuff. People always say like, sugar's like definitely horrible for you. Stop that. But yeah, so I think I treat dinner time too much like a release valve, and you can still have it be a release valve, but maybe like I should just pick better choices. I can still have a whole lot of fun, but so that's anyway. My personal choices could be changed, but that's what I think it's like, and maybe you're the same way where we are disciplined at work, and it's like I might be programming or working on stuff from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. basically, where it's just like, okay, I programmed from 6 until 9 until 6 I worked on my stuff, sometimes not even taking lunch because I don't eat lunch, and then from 6 until 9 o'clock when we go to bed, or like 8 o'clock sometimes because we act like old people. It's like, okay, I want to relax, I don't want to think too much or whatever.
I think it has something to do with that identity too. Both of us have created an identity of, I am a developer. Again, I mentioned that book a couple episodes ago, the Un-F Yourself, and he talks about that a lot, as like creating that identity of like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one of us have an identity of, I am fit.
I'm fit. Yeah. I used to be.
Or active even.
Yeah.
I'm not even active. I know that Amaya, my wife, she's been trying to go walking every day, and she's been pretty good about it. And I think, honestly, after like 2 or 3 weeks of it, she created this just identity, as small as it may seem. She created this identity of like, I am a walker. I walk every day. I am a person that walks in the morning. That's who I am. Yeah. Whereas the first week was probably tough because it's like, I don't do this. This isn't who I am. Waking up an hour early to go walk is not fun. It's not who I am. Yeah. But eventually, after like 3 or 4 weeks of it, again, that's who she is. And she's like eager and like excited. Like, well, you don't understand. Like, this is what I do at 6 a.m. You know, so if I would try to get her to sleep in or whatever, be the crappy husband that I am to try to keep my wife in bed. Like she would just be like, well, no, you don't understand. Like, this is what I do. This is what I do in the morning. I go for a walk. But another thing that I want to talk about is you kind of mentioned that release valve. So I can kind of speak to this a little bit because this has actually been me for the last 2 days. My wife will tell you that I have been extremely out of character for the last 2 days. I think part of that is because I really did feel really sick yesterday. Like I really did not feel good. And the day before at night, just something wasn't sitting right in my body, and I just wasn't feeling great. Neither was I the next day. But both last night and the night before, I played hours of video games. Very, very out of character for me. I never do that.
I did that for some reason out of the blue. I was also playing video games the past couple nights. I think it was like Wednesday, Thursday.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Something weird about they say that like you even on a subconscious level like sync with people that you spend a lot of time with and share a lot of things with. Maybe that was like a weird like.
But it did feel like a release valve. That's exactly it.
It
I want to
did,
sit
yeah.
and I want to play Batman. That's
Yep.
what I'm doing the rest of the night.
My wife actually told me last night, she was like, you actually seem like you're in a better mood. Like it's almost like you needed to do that.
Yeah.
And I did. And Jocko talks about this too, where he says, if you think that you need a break, which I actually have felt like I needed a break for months. Like I've been pushing so hard, even before we started doing all this stuff, just pushing an unbelievable amount of effort through myself to get a bunch of stuff done, get a bunch of projects done, have some failed projects. Just been pushing really hard, and I've been feeling like I need a break. But what Jocko says is if you feel like you need a break, go another day or week or month or whatever that little time window is for you. Keep pushing, and then if at the end of that you still need a break, fine.
Then take it.
So I have had probably, I don't know, let's say half a dozen days in the last couple months where I felt like I need a break, and I didn't take it. And the next day I'm like, okay, all right, I'm good. I'm going to keep pushing through this. But yesterday, or not yesterday, but like 2 or 3 days ago, I felt like I had one of those days. And the next day I still felt like I had one of those days. And the next day I still felt like I had one of those days, to the point where I felt physically sick. Who knows? It could have just been mental exhaustion. It could have been whatever. But I think it was actually something wrong with me. But anyways, I did finally take that break, and I feel refreshed. I feel good. I feel like mentally acute again. Whereas the last few days, like putting mental effort into things has been really tough. But now I'm like sharp. I'm back on it. I'm good. I needed to resharpen that sword. I needed to sit on the recliner and just play video games for a minute.
Yeah, that is interesting. So I guess these two things are kind of related, actually, like because we're talking about celebrating victories, but also like don't do it too much and don't over celebrate.
Yeah.
Taking breaks is the exact same thing. It is important to take breaks. I would also say, like, don't do it too much. Like, don't go overboard with your breaks. Like you said in school, that guy would learn how to do loops after 30 minutes and go, okay, cool, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I deserve a break now.
He would literally say, like, let's go drink. Like, let's go to the bar. Dude, what? Every time. And, like, we meet, like, 2 or 3 times a week, bro. Like, jeez.
When I was in school, we studied. I went to DigiPenn. It was a hard school. It was known for being a hard school. Freshman year, I still studied hard, but I did it at home. Sophomore year on, I was at school 12 hours a day. I mean, like, sometimes later. Certainly before any, like, game project was due or any finals were due. We were just there all night. Like, that was it. And so that's how you, to me, that's how you learn.
For me, those victories are, like you talk about being at school for 12 hours a day. For me, I celebrate that victory whenever I realize that what I've done is profound and out of the capability of most people. So, like, for example, if you go to school for 12 hours, or actually a kind of good example of this is I used to have coworkers when I worked at McDonald's in fast food. I used to have coworkers that would do like a 12-hour shift or something like that, or maybe even a double shift, like a 16-hour shift. And they'd be like really proud of themselves for like, I got through that, like mentally that was hard, whatever. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, I mean, I get it, but like there's a ton of people that could do that. Pull a double shift, like, come on, like people do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like, even when we had at work a couple weeks ago, we had this crazy thing that happened that required us to be in the office for like 16 or 18 hours 3 days in a row, and working from home too at night, and we were up super late, and it was like we were all like, I think our victory was basically like, hey, high five, like that was really cool, like we got through, we pushed through as a team. But like realizing like this doesn't mean we're going to go to the bar and like, have a great time. Like it was like anybody could have done that. We did it, and it was exciting, and we should celebrate that victory as a team. But like, let's not overdo this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we didn't have a party certainly not at work, but even like
No.
amongst ourselves. Like I felt good that we pulled together and got everything, like we got it through that.
Yeah.
And we even said like it was fun. It ended up being a little bit fun. But yeah, we didn't sit there and say, oh yeah, we didn't. Yeah, maybe we high-fived. Maybe.
Well, even like today's episode, like we're on episode 7 and we're really excited about this. It's not like we're going to go throw a party. Like it's like anybody could have done this.
I'm going to have some champagne tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I might drink with my spouse too. But my point is like anybody could have done this. I don't think we're looking at this as like, oh my God, we're so proud of ourselves because we got to the 7. Like honestly, what would be exciting is like a year.
Well, yes.
Most people are not going to get to a year.
So yeah.
That's really significant.
I think talking about the individual milestones maybe lays it out better because that is exactly the conversation I had with my wife earlier today. 7 episodes is cool, but I'm really excited for 52.
Oh yeah.
But I'm really excited for whatever 104 or like 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. I'm really excited for 10 years. That's where I want to be.
Yeah, because this is like that exponential graph where like every episode that goes by, there are exponentially less people that made it to that point.
Oh, yeah.
Like we might be at a point right now where 10% of podcasts make it to episode 7. Cool. But 8, 9, 10, every episode that goes by, you're dropping significant amounts of people. And so the longer it's like college is kind of the same thing. You don't celebrate finishing a semester really because anybody can finish a semester. You celebrate the degree. You got something that most people can't I mean, there's a lot of people that get degrees, but it's really hard, obviously. And there's a lot of people that don't get degrees. So celebrate that because again, and it works the same way. You go on to get your master's degree or PhD. Every degree, post-grad degree, exponentially lower amounts of people got there.
Yeah.
And so it's actually weird for me to talk like this, though, because I'm sitting here comparing myself or whoever it is to other people. And actually, this is kind of something, I don't know how I can gather my thoughts on this because it's weird because I was always taught by my dad. I used to tell my dad things like, I don't know. I would do something. What's a good example? I don't know. I would say, I got a job as a manager at McDonald's. That's a good one. And I would be so proud because I'd be like, hey, Dad, the average 17-year-old can't land a manager position at McDonald's. And he would be like, why are you comparing yourself to the average person? Do you want to be an average person? And like, so I never understood that when I was younger. I just think I would
get along with your dad so well.
Oh yeah, you should meet him sometime. He's an awesome guy. He's just really, really hard on me, I think, and so maybe one time he should come on the podcast.
He probably wouldn't like that I'm fat. He's like, what are you doing?
No. He, my dad's he's a really cool dude. He's very interesting because I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about my dad, but I don't know, he pushes people really hard. He says things that, he's significant to me because he was my dad, and it's funny because Father's Day wasn't that long ago, and I wrote him a card, and I said, I think that what Father's Day means, and the thing that makes this significant, is that every year I realize more and more things that you did that made no sense to me when you did them, but they make a lot of sense now. And I just have so many of these different lessons, and like that was one of them. I don't know if I learned that this year or a couple years ago, but again, he used to tell me, like, why are you comparing yourself to the average person? Are you trying to be average? And I never understood that because I was like, no, I'm telling you I'm above average. I'm telling you I don't want to be average, and I'm better than them. But if average is your baseline, it's not that hard to beat that.
Yeah.
Like, so is that your goal? It's almost like you shouldn't be comparing yourself to anybody at all because you want to be at the top of whatever it is that you can be. You know what I mean? Stop comparing yourself to people. Even if you compare yourself to, I don't know, if like your goal is like, I don't know, I want to make, $100,000 a year or something, and like that's your baseline. Well, then like, okay, you can beat that, but then what? Don't have this baseline. And like this makes a lot of sense to me now as an adult because I don't like
push for what. Yeah, don't. I understand what you're saying. Don't have average be the baseline.
No,
push like. I think this is what so many people say. Like dream big, and I think even my wife does this. Like, I'd like to have a YouTube channel with 10,000 subscribers. Dream big.
Yeah.
Get 10 million or whatever, right? Like, and we do this with our app at work as well. Like, it would be cool to have. Well, we have like 2 million downloads. I'd like to have 20 million users, like stuff like that. That would be really cool.
Well, and it's not to say that I'm immune to this either. Like one of the most toxic things that I do for myself is, we're trying to start up this YouTube channel, and I'll go look at other YouTube channels in the same, whatever, the same category as us, and I'm like comparing us to them and seeing like, well, this is where they're at. Is it, and I don't know why I'm doing that. Honestly, we're not competing with them. The good thing is there's no market share here. Like it's not like if we're trying to who's that one guy? Oh, jeez, why am I blanking on his name? Something Media, whatever, doesn't matter. He also does iOS and Android content, Traversy Media or whatever. Like, we're not competing for market share with him. You know what I mean? Like, he's just doing the same thing. Cool. If you can learn from him and learn from me, like, you can watch both these people's videos. So I don't know why I'm comparing myself, because one, we're not competing, and two, I don't want there to be a baseline. Plus, how they did it might not be how we did it. We might have a completely different audience than they do.
I would, actually, I am going to disagree. I agree with what you said. People can watch both, but I disagree with market share a little bit. The thing is, we want we want to be the one that people go to first, and the ones that people share. Like there is benefit and value in that. And so it doesn't mean, it's like when people ask, do you have an Xbox or a PlayStation? Oh, I don't have both, but like some people have both. When I was younger, I did. You can have both. But if you're going to choose one, and because that's the thing is with blogs, like I thought about this with like finance blogs, Mr. Money Mustache is like the high end of that long tail. Yeah. There's a ton of finance blogs. And so it is obviously better. You can be anywhere along that like asymptote, but of course it is better to be towards.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate right back at you then. Maybe we can debate on this a little bit. So this you won't agree with, but I'm going to make a point after this. To be better than somebody, to be the best at something, there has to be people less good than you. So I don't want these people to go anywhere. Like of course we want to have the best content. We want to have the best channel, whatever. But, so there's that. There's the element of this where to be the best, you got to compete with other people. But also, I do think, and I know you'll agree with this too, and I'm not saying this to be like some moral thing, whatever, but it is true. Both you and I are doing this to help people learn to code and to complete that goal in their life. Honestly, whatever works best for you, do that.
Yeah.
If watching our videos isn't as good as somebody else, I really do want people to become programmers. Get good at this. It's a great career, and do whatever makes sense for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the world, and there's no way that like.
Well, even no, I
think you see where I'm going.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. Even
plus, like maybe we can do collaborations with people too. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Even in this room, there's two people, and we seem to have different learning styles. Mm-hmm. Where it's like and I don't know. Actually, I like the way that you do it. It just, I don't think it works as well for me. Mm-hmm. You do happily jump into a project where I want to do a lot of tutorials. I like to gain some like deeper foundational knowledge, which makes me slower. But like when I just jump into something, like if I'm just jumping into Laravel, I can tell that I just get frustrated much more. So I like doing like, and I'll work hard. I'll do these tutorials, and I'll work hard at it, and I'll go through like a ton. Like at work, we have like the Laracast, and our boss can see who has the most points or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I passed our boss.
Oh, nice.
And he said it. He was like, "Oh wow, you have like double my points," or something like that. And because I will hammer at that. And the thing is, that's good and bad. I have some knowledge, but I'm also like, I think it's very impressive that you just jump into and do projects. So I think there's definitely value in both. But anyway, my point is, I am agreeing with you because maybe not everybody is going to learn from our styles. I hope people like us.
Yeah.
But if people can learn from somebody else, or they do learn from somebody else better because they like that style, I think that's valuable. And I think it right, the rising tide raises all boats.
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And with education, I think another reason, this is a less obvious reason that I say that there's no market share, is because if you and another person have a course on being an iOS developer, you both have a different way of teaching, and you both cater to a different learning style. So it's possible that somebody that would do better in my course winds up in somebody else's, and that sucks. Maybe that's where market share does come into play. But in general, you're catering towards people that learn this way. He's catering towards people that like him and learn this way, and that's fine. So you don't have to split the market share. And also, I've watched 4 or 5 videos, maybe even 100 videos on one topic before, just trying to find somebody else that explains it in a way that's going to click with me. Or, I mean, like, if you want to learn to be an iOS developer, you could take 2 courses simultaneously and build both of their projects.
Which would be a really good idea.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
I've personally paid for, personally paid for 2 of these and used one of them separate. I have owned a subscription to LinkedIn Learning, Treehouse.com, and Pluralsight. And I have used all of these. That's why I can also speak from experience. My problem with these general platforms is that they are general. It's nice, like when your company gives you a subscription to Pluralsight, because then you can jump in and learn whatever. I think I was even looking for PHP development when I worked at another company that was doing PHP, and Pluralsight had like some basic courses. So again, like, it's nice, you're able to pick it up. But that's also why I like Laracast better, because as soon as we got this job and they gave us a subscription to Laracast, like, it started clicking more. So, but anyway, my point is, I wasn't like, I think even at one point I owned LinkedIn Learning and Treehouse.com, like subscriptions to both of those. So it wasn't an either or thing, which is exactly like what you're saying. I want to learn these topics. I'm going to learn these topics.
And why did you think that Laracast was? I would agree with you, but why did you think Laracast was better than Treehouse? You said something. Were you saying because Treehouse, or is that the one that you were saying you didn't like as much?
Pluralsight.
Pluralsight, and you said something about that was too general. Is that like just too?
Well, yeah. So I've learned a lot of stuff, or I've watched a lot of videos on all these platforms. The problem is, something like Pluralsight or something like LinkedIn Learning, which used to be lynda.com. I owned it back then. What they do is they might have 1 or 2 core teachers who are teaching like some fundamentals, but they'll go and they'll hire out somebody. Like, say, like Pluralsight might hire out us, kind of like Udemy now. Pluralsight potentially could hire out me to do a course on Android. Yeah. Now, if they did, they would be getting somebody who's like I think an expert, right? But maybe they hire somebody just a little bit lower, or like massively lower. And so they're not guaranteed to be that good. They're just guaranteed to be competent to whatever level Pluralsight has,
or cater to your learning style, whereas the previous person did.
Yeah. But the reason, so there's that, and then also there's a limited amount. If I'm looking for Android, it still might be like 30 or 50 hours, but it's like, maybe what do I do at the end of that? Whereas Laracast is just about Laravel and PHP,
and there's a lot,
and there's a ton, and you get to, if you like that guy, then that works for you. And like, it's so deep. He goes so deep, whereas Pluralsight, again, it's wide, but it's not deep.
It does seem like that's why YouTube and Udemy are such popular learning platforms, because typically you're going to have like one person, one guy or gal teaching this topic, and chances are, actually, I like this about Udemy, which is that they usually give you like the first module free or something. And I think that's to see if you like this instructor, if this learning style works for you, and then chances are, if the first module worked, the rest of it's going to work as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, and I think that's why people like YouTube channels a lot too. I actually saw this. There was an iOS course that I took a long time ago, and it was, it's weird. It's not his real name, but in the course he went by Mark Price from DevSlopes. I don't know, but apparently that's not his real name. I don't know what the reason for not giving his real name was, but anyways, that's beside the point.
Should we come up with fake names? Is it too late?
Yeah, I'm gonna be. My mom, she jokes that she's got this fake boyfriend, no, it's not my mom. It's my mom's friend who got divorced, and she now has this boyfriend, and he's not real, but they tell people his name's Grady Steele, because it just sounds.
That sounds cool. That does
just sounds sexy. My name is Grady Steele. Yeah. Anyways, so he came up with a fake name. We need fake names too. Maybe I'll just go by Grady Steele.
That's a cool one.
But anyways, the thing with his course was that he had another guy help him halfway through the course, and I think maybe some people liked Mark or whatever his name is, and maybe some people liked the other guy. But there was definitely, in the comments of the section that changed to him, people were like, why did you switch? Or like, I really like this guy, but now that I'm going back, like, people like a consistent learning style, which actually this is kind of contradictory to what we're kind of doing, because we have two people doing the same channel. But I will say that you and I talk frequently about making sure that we are in line in the way that we structure and construct the course.
Oh yeah.
But we also like having two different people, because it's a little bit weird to me to structure a course the way that that Mark Price guy did, because not only did he have another guy help him in the middle with the content, but it was like just very different. Like, he would do these different lecture styles and at least be consistent. Like, you and I are at least trying to do that, and we're also trying to construct top to bottom one course, and it flows a certain way. It didn't feel like they did that. This guy was just completely different, and I think people thought like they would rather just him go create things by himself or whatever.
Actually, here's a thought I just had. We could double our content by actually doing, like, not necessarily competing, but competing with ourselves.
Yeah.
We could just record. You know what I'm saying now, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just record the iOS module, because maybe I go in depth, but we're going to hit different. That's the thing, is we're going to hit different things. Here's the same topic. Like, you can, because like my advice anyway to anybody would be, watch this course and then watch it again. Mm-hmm. Like, because you're probably not getting it anyway. But now potentially we could both be doing.
That's a really good point.
It's not bad, right? It's like, hey, here's, like, obviously we would want to make sure it's the same project. Like, okay, we're both doing this calculator, and here's the end project, so that we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
but like, we just teach it. We just both teach that thing, like, in two separate videos. Like, again, like, we're doubling our content. We're giving people options. I might cry a little bit if you get like way more views than me, but
this is CODEJO in the making, y'all. We just like constructing business plans in the middle of the podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
No, yeah, man. I think that's actually a good idea.
Could work.
I think for me, one thing that I learned at our current job, and one thing that's making a lot more sense to me as I get older and work for more people and see more businesses, there's definitely a lot of people that go on to be successful as solo YouTubers or solo whatever. But I actually think if you're going to have a good business, one thing that seems important is to have good partners and have somebody that you are happy to share success with. You're happy to share expenses or cost with or whatever. And I mean, the cool thing is, like, I mean, I know that you and I, we don't really have any ego in this. At the end of the day, we're both just trying to grow the channel. And if we can both grow our own, content under the same roof, we get to have double as big of a channel. Plus, we do this together anyways. Like, I don't know. But
well, I think it's cool. Yeah, like with our like you said, with our current work and our like business, our bosses are all partners. Like, but they're skilled at different things.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, we're skilled at different things, not just iOS and Android, but like I was telling my wife about this. Like, you have dived deep into like researching the audio, researching the video, doing all that stuff, and that's valuable. You looked into this sounds dumb, but you looked into getting thumbnails for the videos.
Yeah.
That's some polish. I was like, oh, thumbnails, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like, when it comes to stuff like this, I like ways of, I want to get to the end goal as quickly as possible, obviously. But like, to me, starting up something like a YouTube channel is fun. I don't want to call it easy. It's hard. But it's easy based on my personality, because it's so obvious the things that need to be done.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, if you look at these YouTube channels that are all set up and whatever, you're like, okay, there's a lot of things that they do in common, and we gotta get there. So it's like, if I realize that we don't have thumbnails and a lot of people do, cool. My next goal is very easy.
We should get thumbnails.
I need to get thumbnails. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the thing, is like, I absolutely agree with you. This is where I think we're good at slightly different things. The thing that I'm, and we can leverage this. This is just an example. Like, you are good at paying attention to those things, where maybe I'm focused on getting like core content. Not that you're not focused on that. We both know that's really important. But it's like, and I think we talked about this once before when we were trying to run ads. Like, okay, I can focus on recording, and you can focus more on like the administrative part.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? But it does help when there's two people.
Yeah.
That's basically it, or like 2 or 3 or whatever it is.
Well, like, yeah, and that's a good point, because I think not only when this is said and done does having two people probably double the potential size of the channel, but it also helps you move twice as quick.
Yeah.
Because both you and I just in the last, I mean, we're only episode 7, so technically this has only been up for a week, 2 months almost, not even.
Yeah.
So it's like, in the fact that we're able to get here required 2 people, and we've got a lot of stuff done. We got an LLC formed, like we're getting the website stuff set up. We got the YouTube channel, all this content, get a bank account, like all of this stuff would have been.
We have a Patreon, by the way.
Yes, yeah, we have. Yeah, that would super help.
You can search up CODEJO on Patreon if you're interested in, if you like what we're doing.
Yeah.
Or if you like our content, yeah, that would help.
Costs a lot.
It'd be cool. It would just be cool.
Yeah. But I mean, it's important for people to know, like, the more we do this, we just got to keep practicing what we're preaching. Like, we're going to keep doing this stuff. We're going to keep creating content. We're going to keep pushing this forward. We want to teach as many people as possible. And we want to create like one of the best courses on the internet for all sorts of stuff. Like, we've been talking about this. Between the both of us, we know a lot of skills. Like, I know for a fact, if you were interested in being a game developer, game engine developer, my God, instead of going to school, if that's not an option, there's no doubt, this might not be anytime soon, but you could create a course on that would just be so we've got that. I've got experience in like SPAs and a lot of JavaScript frameworks like Vue, Laravel. Eventually we'll have some stuff for that. The game stuff, like a lot of the C stuff.
So here was
just
an interesting,
never ends.
Yeah, here was an interesting example. I think I'm gonna. I don't know if I'll do a video on this. I had this. It was a fun Twitter interaction. So like, because I go around on Twitter, and if people are asking programming questions, I try to answer, right, if I can. So somebody was asking, what is the difference? He noticed there was a difference in timing when he would do like I plus equals 1, or I equals I plus 1. And he noticed there was like a difference in timing, and one of them was like, it was like nanoseconds, but like one of them was twice as slow. The I equals I plus 1 is twice as slow.
Okay.
And I knew why. It's because I know assembly. I'm not an expert at assembly, but I understand like what the machine instructions are.
Yeah.
So I went and I explained it to him, and I gave him assembly instructions. And I was saying like it shouldn't matter anyway. Once you turn on your compiler optimizations in like a release mode, it's probably going to be the exact same. But here is like here's the likely assembly instructions and for these statements. And he was like, oh wow. And he said, I asked I'm taking like a course in college right now, and he's like, I asked my professor and he didn't know. And he just said, it's just like that. And I said, yeah, the professors don't always know everything. Like, they're just people like me as well. I was a teacher. I was still just learning all the time.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't know everything. But like that was, I forget why I was telling that story, but just we can do a video on that, and we know like our range of experience is different. So I think like there's a more than, let's say, just some average developer who's also self-taught. Like we have a lot of stuff we can bring to the table. Yeah. So I think our channel has a good chance of being big.
I hope we can do a lot of new stuff too that other people aren't doing. I mean, in today's world, like everything's been done. There's plenty of iOS content out there. We've got an iOS course. There's a lot of that stuff out there. I think it's all about being unique. Could be kind of cool. I mean, if you're already sitting there like responding to these people, I need to get active doing the same thing. It'd almost be cool. I was actually just telling you about something like this. I'll explain that in a second. But maybe what we could do is like find people that have questions and even like just record a YouTube video answering people's questions. Like,
I think, yeah.
Just impromptu. It doesn't even have to be like the crazy highest quality, but just like, hey, I saw you had this question. Let me try to. And then you probably create a subscriber, create a viewer for life.
Yeah.
That could be a cool way to do it. But the reason I mentioned that is because I actually we both, invested in a course from some guy online. It was a little bit pricey, but that's not really all that important. But it kind of is. It kind of is. But anyways, we ended up realizing that it wasn't going to work for us. It was kind of centered around a platform that we're not using. and I asked them for a refund, and the guy, I was just telling you about this, the guy actually recorded a personalized video to respond to my refund request, basically saying like, hey, I realize that you want this. Maybe you didn't realize that you could do this, or maybe this is why this platform could work for you. I mean, it was like a 6 or 7 minute video, but it was so cool to see that somebody took the time to do that. Yeah. And my response was basically like, I don't need this particular thing. That's for sure. But you've probably created somebody that will always pay attention to your content forever and probably buy other stuff from you just because that was such a cool experience to have you do that. So I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe even if it's like a 2-3 minute video to answer a question, that could be kind of cool.
That would be cool. So yeah, this is where we were talking about Gary Vaynerchuk earlier as well. And like that was how he basically started. That is how he started with his Wine Library TV. He was just going out, not necessarily creating videos, but like he was going out and doing, like, in order to differentiate himself, he was going out on social media and going that extra mile, like trying to help people out, not just trying to sell. Like if people were interested in wines, he would give them suggestions and tell them about tastings, and he just I don't know because I don't know about wines, but like he was very involved in that. And he has this book, it's like his second book called The Thank You Economy, where he talks about like that is how you differentiate yourself. That's how I think he still owns that wine company as well. And he says, I outsell I outsell Costco locally, and I outsell wine.com like globally or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's because now he's like, I don't know if he's like a household name, but like a YouTuber household name. He calls himself like a triple Z celebrity, or whatever, triple Z list celebrity. But like in the entrepreneurial world, I'm sure a lot of people know him, and in the social media world, if you're a social media marketer, you probably know who that guy is. But yeah, it's just like that. To me, that is how you differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that's who I like. That's why I like Jocko.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like obviously I liked his book, but I like that he puts out a podcast and he's helping people and like answering questions on the podcast. But going that extra mile, it would be really, really cool.
Yeah, in a world where the internet is growing so rapidly and people, I think daily it's getting worse, where people are feeling less and less connected with the world around them. Like, I mean, you feel connected in the sense that like information is available, but like it does seem like those human connections, those relationships with people, those are for sure lacking especially on the internet. Like, how often do you see something on the internet and you're like, oh, I really like connected with that person? Like never, almost never.
Yeah.
I felt like that when that guy responded to me with that refund request. Like, that was so cool. That was a very odd human. He said my name in the video. He was like, hey, Cole, I see that, yada, yada. I was like, dang, that really was super cool. And hopefully we keep talking about this. Maybe we just discovered a new way that we can do this. But yeah, like maybe we've been saying the whole time that like we want CODEJO to be a place where people feel like they can talk to us and be connected and create this community. And I think maybe a way to do that is through these personal experiences. I know Josh Fluke, he does like live streams all the time, and he makes an effort in those live streams to actually talk to the people. I mean, who knows if you like Josh Fluke or his content or not, but there's no doubt that he's created a community of people that definitely like him.
Yeah.
And he does a live stream and talks to these people who be like, oh, hey, Matt, I see da-da-da-da. Yeah, here's my answer. Here's what I would do. So I just think that's cool. And people obviously really, really like that.
Of course, yeah.
People are looking for those connections, especially on the internet. So I mean, yeah, I think we should definitely make decisions based on that.
Yeah. I really think, I don't know how I can get it to you, but I really think, because I have the audiobook of Thank You Economy. Really good book.
Yeah,
I think you would like it because it's like.
Can you give Cliff Notes real quick, because I think give some Cliff Notes because I have some thoughts on what I think that means.
He says care, basically, like your number one thing should be like the business has changed. Like he says, let's say back in the 70s, you would have like a butcher on like your corner store, and like they would live or die, basically, like survive or not, based on how they treated their customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because they served so locally, right? So if somebody had a problem and they were like trying to scam or something like that, they would go out of business, because like you would tell the PTA, or you would tell like your neighbors, and everyone would stop shopping there. But then as things started growing, maybe he was talking about even the 30s or 40s. He was saying just like a long time ago, as things started growing and getting more global, it seemed like businesses stopped caring as much, right? Because like there's so many customers. So if Matt doesn't like it, not a big deal, because we still have so many, and we can still become profitable, and especially because the internet at that time, internet maybe existed in like the 90s or whatever, 2000s, but it still wasn't unified. So you might have to go to a site like paypalsucks.com and like to read the complaints.
Yeah.
But now we like people are, because there's these hubs of like Twitter, Facebook, or even like Yelp or whatever, where like people get together and will discuss things. And so it's kind of that, it has become, or even YouTube, it becomes that situation again, where if people don't, I mean, maybe if you're still a really, really good company, people will, like, of course some people aren't going to like you, and that's fine. But if you're scamming all the time, that's going to start to collect.
Yeah.
And like people can search for that on YouTube, you know, like if we were selling something crappy, like don't buy CODEJO's site, or don't buy CODEJO's courses, because it was a 2-page PDF that cost me $98, and they wouldn't give me a refund. Yeah. And it's like that stuff can start to spread, and people can search for it easier. So he says, the economy has changed, and so like the way to become successful is to truly care. Like your number one thing should be customer service and care.
Yeah.
And like Zappos didn't create this, but copy the Zappos model. Because the thing that they say is they mastered customer service.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. And so he just does that. He did that with his Wine Library TV, where he loved wine. Still loves wine, I'm guessing. And
who doesn't?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But so he would just go out and he would answer questions and interact with people, and he was having fun while he was doing it. But like that earned him business.
Yeah.
And he wasn't trying to sell people all the time. Like he would just go out and answer questions and interact with people, and then people will. I don't know where the thank you comes from. I don't know if it's like by you caring, people might thank you by buying from you, right? But like the point is like earning that trust, and as a thanks, that's like maybe they will purchase from you, and that's kind of what your connection is, like that feeling that you just had.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this product didn't work for me, but because the interaction was so cool, it didn't feel sleazy. You didn't try to like double sell me or just refuse a refund or whatever. It's like, it was really cool. We'll work together again. Not this product, but maybe the next product.
Yeah. It was so genuine and authentic. And I guess, I don't know if I'm drawing like a weird parallel here, but maybe this is kind of what it meant, because it did feel like when he responded to me, it did absolutely feel like he cared, and that he was thankful that I invested in them and bought their course, and he was just trying to find a way to keep that relationship alive or whatever. And I don't know if this is necessarily the same thing either, but I think this is one thing that my parents definitely taught me as I was growing up, and maybe it's kind of what this book is about a little bit. My parents always told me, like, when somebody does something for you, go as far out of your way as possible to show them that meant something to you, because that will make them feel so good. Like, all too often do people have these exchanges in life where somebody will do something for somebody, and you don't appreciate how much work or effort or whatever it took for that person to do that thing. This is huge in relationships too, personal relationships. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. Like, do just that little, like your partner, when they do something for you, partner in relationships or in business, when they do something for you, it meant enough to them to do that they did it. And like, you just being like super grateful and thankful for what they did is going to make them want to do it again. Like, it's like one reason why people love giving gifts so much. It can be just as rewarding to give the gift as it is to receive the gift, if the recipient of the gift is thankful.
If you could see, so like when my wife does these paintings, actually you experience this. But like when she does these pet paintings, like we always hear from people, like whoever's giving that gift, like they can see when they unwrap it, like their eyes light up. It just looks amazing. And that like obviously like the giver appreciates that, but Tay loves hearing those stories too. She loves hearing that people like are so connected to her paintings.
It does feel like the world is hopefully moving in that direction. I sure hope so, because it does seem like we kind of had a lot of companies for a while that created these like robotic businesses or whatever, and it didn't have that human connection. But it does seem like people are kind of maybe starting to get away from that. I noticed that some of the most popular ads and companies on YouTube right now, I don't really like all of their things that they're selling. Like there's so many like marketing and advertising companies that Gary Vee talks about this. It's a marketer selling you a course on marketing that he learned from a course on marketing that was learned from a course on marketing,
and
these
he's going
people
to teach you how to start a course to sell marketing.
Yeah, and like they and not ever do they actually do any marketing. So I'm like contradicting myself, because although I don't like that business, what I do like is what they're trying to, the reason that they are successful is because they're filming these ads just like on their iPhone, and it's like, hey man, I'm just some regular guy. You could do the same thing too. And then you land on their sales page, and you know, they're trying to like connect with you. They're trying to tell you like, look, I've been there, I've done that, I get what you're going through. You and I are kind of trying to do the same thing to some extent. Like if you want to learn programming, like we've been there, done that, we know what it's like, you know, we can help you, but we're also not being like, I mean, I've done we've both worked jobs, like we know what this is like.
So here's Seth Godin, he wrote Linchpin. We briefly talked about that in another podcast. He kind of talks about like the reason that you want to be an artist or a linchpin for a company or whatever is because there's going to be two things that people pay for. One is if a company can build a process smooth enough, right? For example, like PC computers, right? They can build it like the product itself is going to go cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. If you're buying a Windows machine, of course you care about specs, you want it to work, but the thing that you're also looking for is that price. Mm-hmm. How much specs can I get for the cheapest price, right? And so like in the end, that hurts the businesses, which is fine. I don't care that it hurts the business. It's good for customers, right? But like if you're the business owner trying to do that, you are competing on price because there's no like sexiness or like magic in the product. Yeah. Compare that with Mac. Like it's just like there is something, and it's not just the operating system. It might work better I have reasons why I like Mac better, but a lot of those have to do with development. I think it's a better development platform, and that's arguable, and that's perfectly fine. We can argue about it, but those are just my preferences. But there's a lot of people who aren't developers who prefer Mac, and you ask them why, and it's like they said, oh, it's better. It's like, okay, well, why? Yeah. Like let's get specific. And
my wife is like this.
Yeah, and it's like they might not have those reasons. Whatever. If maybe it's not better, but it makes you feel better. Yeah. And that's fine. That's fine too. But like so, in Linchpin, he's talking about being an artist. He's like, there's two things. You can either race to the bottom on price, or like sell humanity, like the interaction or the feeling or the whatever. Yeah. So that's the benefit of like a machine could or, I don't know, we could take a picture of a dog, or could paint your dog, and it's like, well, one is worth 25 cents because you can take it on your camera, or one is worth like $100 or whatever, you know.
Yeah. It seems like for the last 20 years there have been a lot of companies. You kind of just talked about this with the whole Windows thing. There's been a lot of competition to get the price of manufacturing down. Yeah. That's been like, I'd say the last 2 decades has pretty much been that. Mm-hmm. But it almost feels like we're seeing this little like revolution in business now, where like it is about creating those human connections, but it's also about ease of use. And if you can provide the easiest to use thing, people are willing to pay way, way more for it. And whether that's money or time or whatever it is that you're selling it for, like people are willing to give that if it's easier to use. This is Apple to a T. We just talked about this. Like I just bought a Windows computer last night actually, and probably I spent like $1,000 on it, and to get a comparable Mac would be like $3,500, maybe $4,000.
Yeah.
But people will pay that all day long, including me. I'm actually not taking a stance for Windows here. I actually love Mac way more. The only reason I bought a Windows computer is because I have so many Macs.
Yeah.
But
and we need there's certain things that we want a Windows.
Yeah, there's some things for the podcast that unfortunately require Windows, but no, I mean there's certain things that Windows are good for. I do prefer Mac, but Mac has been so popular because I do think in general their hardware software is a lot of times actually better, but they also just provide this platform that's just easier to use.
Yeah.
All of your stuff is synced up, your messages, your calendar, whatever. And like that's what people want, and people are willing to pay way more for it. And I think that goes for anything. That goes for like these courses too. People are selling courses. If you've got the easiest to use, easiest to understand course, that's going to sell. We work with a guy. This isn't necessarily about the whole company, but he talks about this a lot where he says, whenever I use an app, I just want it to tell me what to do. And so many people share that same sentiment, whether you know it or not. Like I think a lot of people, I gotta be careful how I word this because I would get backlash for this, but I think a lot of people think they want like infinite customization and stuff, but like I don't think you do. I think you want something to tell you what you want and just make it easy to get what you want. I mean, that's why people like really love the iPhone, because a lot of times it just tells you what you want to do. Like whenever you're onboarding, most of the time you just keep clicking through the pages and like it actually just feels good. You're like, oh yeah, I like that theme. Oh yeah, dark theme. Yeah, I like that. Boom, boom, boom. Just done. It's like so easy to set up. I think that's what people are looking for these days. And you can almost like sort of play the chess game of supply and demand uniquely because you can almost get rid of the supply problem because you could be the only one with that type of thing.
Yeah.
With this thing that's so easy to use. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're selling like a marketing or course or iOS, whatever it may be.
I mean, no.
People are just looking for the easiest thing to use.
Here's a perfect example. How much does the Mac operating system cost?
$0.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to buy a computer with it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like $3,000.
Oh yeah.
Oh, how much does the Windows operating system cost? I don't actually even know.
I think they're trying to start making it free, but I think it does right now. It costs like $100.
Okay, something like that. How much does Linux cost?
Free.
Yeah, it's free. Of course. Yeah, it's free. It's all open source. And if you get certain distributions of Linux, it works just as good as maybe it's not going to run all your programs, but like I used Linux Mint. Even Ubuntu is like the same way, but I used Linux Mint, and you don't have to do the command line like you used to. Like Linux Mint, you can actually make it look just like Windows, but there's some work involved. Like even being able to do that is tough. And so
I see the point you're trying to make. You're trying to say that Windows costs a lot of money, so does Mac, and the reason for that is because it just works.
That's the thing is it's easier, and Mac is even easier than Windows.
Yeah.
To be fair, I haven't used the Windows side that much anymore, but like it does integrate with my phone and my calendar and all this stuff much more simple. Linux is obviously ultimately configurable and like more powerful, and so it's like power users do want to use that. So it has its place, and I think that it's really cool. But yeah, like people are willing to pay for the feeling, but also the ease of Mac and Apple products.
Yeah, and this is everywhere. Like even in the diet industry, the fitness industry, like people are looking for that thing that just teaches them, like they know what they want, just get them there as easy and as quickly as possible. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff, whether it's an iOS course or a fitness course or whatever it is. Sometimes people will say like, well, why would I be willing to pay $60 for this if I can go do it for free on YouTube? And there's one really, really profound reason why. And that reason is because somebody laid out the path for you day by day what you should be doing. And for us, like, so YouTube, if you want to learn to be an iOS developer, there's a lot of ways to do it through YouTube. You could go watch a lot of different developers and watch a bunch of different channels. What we're trying to do is make like a I guess we're trying to cross the two things.
One-stop shop, though.
Yeah. And through YouTube. So not only do you get it for free, but you also get it in the format that you're looking for.
We're going to lay it out. Like, you don't have to search for, like, okay, well, this guy seems to teach me about, like, this iOS, like, UI stack views. Well, this person over here teaches me about delegates. So this person, well, what's Git? Oh, I have to go and learn Git. Well, let me go find that.
Yeah.
We're gonna do all of that.
Yeah. So we're trying to embody that new that new way of doing business or whatever. So, yeah. We're at like an hour and 20 minutes or so, I think.
Okay. We can wrap it up, but kind of going back to the milestones or just like some quotes, because I knew we were going to talk about milestones. And we were watching this movie. It had nothing to do with programming or anything, but I liked this character. He said, the true work of improvement is in the little things every day. So it like that just maybe it's not directly connected, but like you could also say like the journey is the reward, kind of thing.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah. So like that, like you should celebrate. You can do micro celebrations every day, but yeah, like recognize that you do have to get up and do it every single day.
Yep.
Basically, they said, I think this is all in like the same sentence, but it says it's about enjoying the process and living in the moment.
Yep.
And so, like, there's not going to be a day. When was the last day that I don't even know how to answer this question. There's not going to be a day where it's easy, where it's just where you just know, oh, sweet, I know all of the programming.
Yep.
Like, or even I know all of the iOS development. Every day is going to be difficult. You're going to run into bugs. Like every app is different. So some have like some core foundational stuff that's going to be the same, but like, every day is going to be some kind of challenge. You're going to be learning something new. So I like that. Just recognize.
And you can easily get tunnel vision and not realize that like the experience, the journey that you're on right now is profound in and of itself. Mm-hmm. What you're learning right now is a big deal. Because you might be looking at it like, oh, it's really hard to learn how to be this type of programmer or go to law school or whatever. But really, every day you're teaching yourself what you're capable of. Yeah. You're teaching yourself that you're capable of more than whatever it is that you were doing before, and that's a big deal.
And like, how to push past your own limits.
Yeah, like they always say, hindsight's 20/20, and that's for sure true. Because I just remember the years that I spent trying to learn programming, and every day was sometimes brutal. Not every day, but a lot of days were really brutal and really hard. And looking back, it's like I didn't even realize it at the time, but I was teaching myself something maybe even more important than the skill that I was learning. Mm-hmm. When I was learning Java, for example, like maybe Java was actually not the important part. The important part was teaching myself how to learn effectively, teaching myself what I was capable of, solidifying that identity that I have, and proving to myself that you can do big things. You just have to get started and finish them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that. No, I like that.
And I think that's kind of what those quotes are kind of trying to say is like it's not always about the finish line. It's about the journey or whatever the exact quote was. It is true that journey is a big deal. And journey kind of implies that it's just this path that you're following on the way to the goal. But the journey, again, is profound in and of itself. So every day that I said this in the last episode, I think like every day that you're sitting there learning, there's not only like a monetary value actually attached to that in the form of real money.
There will be, yeah, it will be coming.
Yeah, not only that, but you're also solidifying that identity, which I wish that I could just engrave that in new people more and more and more. Like that identity is so important. Making this who you are, it takes time to do that. It's going to take days to do that. And you got to just keep pushing at it. You just got to keep going. And that's so important.
Yeah. Eventually you have that identity of like, I'm a programmer might be too abstract. I'm a person who knows how to build stuff on Apple, on iOS. I'm a person who can solve problems on the computer.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Like that's like basic.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to get like controversial or anything on this podcast, but what I do want to say is like I feel like there's a lot of people in the world that struggle and they fall back on identities that are either toxic or whatever because they don't have an identity that matters to them. Mm-hmm. Like the most important identity in my life, there's probably two of them, which is one, I'm a loyal husband and I love my wife. And that's probably my biggest one that I have. And second to that is I'm a driven programmer. I'm a hardworking programmer. Outside of that, like nothing really matters to me. I don't really hold identity to anything else. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like that's it.
So this is I'm gonna take your serious topic and still be serious, but I'm gonna go like sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, okay.
So there's these books. It's called the first book is called Heroes Die, and it's a sci-fi fantasy book. And there's an assassin, and he's like it's first person, so it's interesting because he's like the hero, but you also know he's like like the most devious killer and everyone's afraid of him or whatever. And so in one of the books, he's kind of like fighting somebody, and he realizes that he can be spotted in this tree because like the moon is creating shadows. Somebody's like about to shoot him with like a crossbow, and he like falls out of the tree awkwardly. And like as he's talking about it, he's like, a lot of people will like die because they're focused more on being cool than being professional.
Yeah.
And so like he knew he had to like do this thing to make himself look awkward and probably even get hurt, whatever. But he's like, but to me, looking cool isn't even in the top 5. It's like surviving is like the top 5 or whatever. So it's like, like don't worry about. The reason I brought that up is because like maybe don't worry about these other things that are holding you back, whatever you think that it is holding you back. Like even if whether that's true or not, if these things are holding you back, okay, but focus on like I'm gonna get it done. If you focus on doing those professional things or whatever, like don't worry about looking cool or don't worry about these other things that like don't worry about the reasons that you can't do it. Worry about the reasons that you can.
Focus on an identity that's going to keep you moving forward, that's going to motivate you to keep pushing. Let that be it. Don't fall back on some other one that's super silly. People get way too caught up in things these days. All these, I mean, I always hear the term even on the radio and on TV and stuff. People are always talking about like identity politics, and it just makes me laugh. I just don't understand that stuff. Hold identity to something that's going to make you better. Don't play silly games and identify with whatever that may be. Like I feel like, I mean, we have all sorts of problems in this country and around the world, whether it's gang violence or whatever it is, and it's like people wind up in those identities because they couldn't find something that was more profound to them or whatever. So I'm glad that I found it, and I hope more people do, and I hope people really internalize that, become a programmer, become whatever it is that you want to be, and do it so much that eventually one day that's just who you are and you identify with that.
I like it, yeah.
Become a what do you call them? CODEJO ninjas.
CODEJO ninjas. Well, the reason I say that, obviously, I think me and you were the same. Do you want to tell the backstory? Why is this company called CODEJO?
Like the way backstory?
I don't know. Is there a way backstory? I don't even know.
I don't know what you were thinking. What's your backstory?
Okay. So I just thought you liked ninjas when you were young. When I was young and I did Halloween, like I was either a ninja or eventually I became a Ninja Turtle. Like that was it. I liked ninjas. And I thought you had said something. You just liked Japanese style themes and like ninjas and
that's
like
part of it.
Okay. Anyway, so you can tell your backstory, but because it's called CODEJO, which obviously it sounds like dojo, right? Like learn at the CODEJO, learn at the CODEJO. So one of the things that you'll see on like, I don't know if it's whatever we can say like dumb job applications or whatever, it's like they're looking for code rock stars or code ninjas or like a Cobalt or Android Ninja or whatever. And so since we're called CODEJO anyway, and we got that cool like the sword on the logo, so I just started saying, "Hey, what's up, Code Ninjas?"
Yeah. I mean the silly backstory to the whole thing. I think I did tell you this before. Maybe I can't remember.
I thought you told me at least a part of it.
Well, yeah, I used to like growing up when I was really young. I used to just be obsessed with like I don't know what it was, like just Asian culture in general, and that was like really broad. Like, but mostly like I had this obsession with like China or like Chinese culture. I don't know where it came from, but it was so much so that when my little brother was being born, I was like 6 or 7 years old. I think it was 7 when he was born, and I asked my mom if he would be Chinese.
Oh, you did tell me this.
Yeah. And I think I said like, I hope he's Chinese, Mom, and she was like, my parents are both white, so they were both like, my mom said, well, buddy, is your mom Chinese? No. Is your dad Chinese? No. Well, then why would your brother be Chinese? And I was like, I don't know. I just hope that he is.
It'd just be cool.
Yeah, it'd just be super cool. So the funny story with that is my grandfather, he knew that I was like obsessed with that stuff. So when my brother was born, like right as he had come out and they had cleaned him up, whatever, he put a Made in China sticker on the bottom of my brother's foot and then took a picture with me and him. And
that's funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. But anyways, outside of that, yeah, I loved like samurais and shoguns and stuff like that. So just one day, or like growing up, I'd always said that like one day I want like a dojo. I want to be like a samurai, and I want to have like a dojo of my own. And then just as an adult, I just thought it was funny, and I was just like, I'm just gonna create the CODEJO.
The
like
CODEJO, yeah.
when I work in my office, that was actually where it came from. Was we had me and my wife's first apartment. I had a little office where I used to work, and I told her I'm gonna go to the CODEJO. Like I'm gonna go chill in the CODEJO. And then one day it just evolved, and
you had a website. You had a website, CODEJO.io, and then you were even building other people's websites. So you were like starting your own mini like design firm, or I don't know how you want to call it. That's cool. Anyway, and then I just hopped on the train.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're both conducting the train now. I mean, it's not like any of that was going anywhere without until you and I got really involved and started doing this. So, I mean, we're on the right track. But yeah, I'm actually really excited about what we talked about in this episode, because I think instead of just offering advice, this was almost a more profound one for us to realize
that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
We hit a milestone. Where are we going from here? So, I guess just everybody like keep stay tuned, keep paying attention, whatever. We're going to post these milestones somewhere, maybe on the website or something.
We'll get the website built out. I'd also like to get apps. Like, obviously we're app developers. And it's like, it would be cool if, like, even if it is just a collection of our YouTube videos in the preferred order, and like right now all we offer is an iPhone course. Like, who cares? Like, we can get an app that just connects and streams these. I think that would be fun.
Has all the course. That's a good point. It has all the courses on there. Maybe even a little community place people can talk or whatever. Cool, we'll build this little app. God, there's just so much to do.
That's what I'm saying. That's really cool.
Never ends. Anyways, that's episode 7.
Should we talk about the troll? Like, it's like a joke.
Oh yeah. Okay. Hey, you want to keep going? I have no problem. We can keep recording. You don't want to let the episode in.
Yeah, just a little bit.
No, I'm good. Let's keep going.
Because I think it's funny. Last episode we talked about a couple of YouTubers. You mentioned one today where it's like it seems like they're negative.
Hold on. Pause real quick. Okay. I want to talk about that real quick. Because I haven't even really talked to you about this. We talked about a guy. Still don't want to say his name or anything, but we kind of said, like, I mean, we talked about 2 developers mostly. One of them you're about to talk about. The first one, I want to say, in case it ever comes out or is ever like clear who that person was, I actually have been spending more time watching some of his content, and I don't exactly disagree with everything that he says. And I think some of what he does is actually cool, unique, creative content. But I do understand where you come from with some of that. But anyway, I just want to put that out there. I think you feel the same way. We've talked about it a little bit over the last week, but some of what he talks about is good stuff. It just sometimes
there's nothing I hate. Yeah. So I don't want it to seem strong.
There's just sometimes it's just frustrating, I guess, for both of us. You and I just love programming a lot, and so hearing people talk negatively, just people making blanket statements. This is just with everything in life. People that make things black and white, they're just not black and white. And it seems like that's one thing that guy does. It's a little frustrating.
Sometimes,
It just makes things sound so super simple, and they're just not. So anyways, go ahead, though. You were going to talk about the other guy, so I didn't mean to derail that.
So, because, like one of the people that we were talking about who seemed really negative or just seemed weird, and I think, to be fair, you had said this guy, that there's no way, like, he must be trolling.
Yeah.
And so I watched more of his content, and I watched like a full video. Like, one of his videos is called, what is it? How I Have $1 Million Income. Parentheses, not clickbait. Or whatever. And I watched the whole video, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is 100% troll. Like, it is a joke. And like, okay, maybe troll is maybe that's not the correct word. It's a joke, though. I don't know. That's fair.
It does seem like a little. I mean,
yeah,
because some people believe it's like, if you look at the comments, some people are like actually curious about what, and you're like, really? Yeah. Like, it's clear that this guy's trolling you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because that's the thing is, like, it seemed.
Is that the one where he says, like, maybe you just shouldn't become a developer? Maybe that might be a different one.
I think that might have been it. But what he was saying, like his secret to being so successful is success chooses him. He's like, I don't choose success. Success chooses. And so I was laughing, and I was just like, okay, like
we got trolled.
Like, that's it. Like, I had the reaction that maybe he's hoping people have, like, where like people take him more serious than they should.
Yeah.
So I got trolled.
Yeah, we both did.
Great
I mean, once I saw his video, I don't think it's the same one. It might have been a different one, but he basically says, like, maybe it's just too hard to become a developer in 2020 or something like that. You probably just shouldn't do it. He's like, you got to like write code, and then like you get hungry, and then like you got to go eat, and then you got to like take a nap, and it's just exhausting. You're just like, okay, this guy is trolling everybody, and it's actually kind of hilarious.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, once you're in on the joke, because, like, if you see a part of that, maybe I just never watched a full video before. When you see a part of it, you're like, what is this guy saying? I'm going to go talk about it on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And then you watch the full video, and you're like, oh, I see.
Yeah, okay. See what's going on here.
Because he said he got fired from Facebook, and he's happy that his wife divorced him because otherwise he'd have to lie to his wife and go to the bar or go to a coffee shop during the day and just do other work. And I was thinking, what a bad husband. Why would you do that? What kind of advice is this?
Yeah.
Troll.
Oh.
I got trolled. So congratulations.
You got us.
You got me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
I'm gonna let you end the podcast then, because you don't want if I try again, you might be like, bro.
Okay, so if you're interested in becoming I almost said troll ninja.
A troll.
If you're interested in becoming a code ninja, definitely like and subscribe to this podcast, to this YouTube channel. If you have any questions, follow us on Twitter. Ask questions in any of the video comments. We have a Facebook page too, so go to that and visit. If you like it, tell us you like it. Like that.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good.
I feel great.
We can't do it yet. Eventually, we're gonna have a Teespring store.
Yep.
So
we're close.
We're close.
Got to get the channel monetized.
Yeah, right now the channel isn't like monetized by YouTube standards, so we're gonna be selling what's on there, like hoodies and shirts with like our logo.
Yep.
We're gonna be sporting that. We don't have this logo.
Yeah, we do need to get the CODEJO one up.
That would be cool too.
Yep.
Anyway, so there's some cool stuff coming, but hopefully you find some value in this. If you have some if you have some milestones, tell us about your milestones. Like I am genuinely interested in chatting with people on Twitter, because it's fun. I should have been paying more attention to the social media for the past 12 years, but I wasn't. I had my head down, focused on becoming a good programmer. Okay, check. Next, start a podcast from nothing.
Yeah, it is weird for us because we never really were into social media personally, but it's like a essential part of this, and it can be exciting. We're both finding a lot of value in it now.
I mean, that's the thing is it is all fun. Like like you said, where are we gonna go? I'm always looking up. I don't know where we're gonna go, but it is fun. It is like the process is messy. We don't know about microphones or lenses or Twitter. Well, I didn't understand Snapchat. I got a Snapchat. I don't know what to do with Snapchat.
We'll talk about Snapchat.
We'll figure it out. Like, I expected it to be like Twitter. I was like, well, how do I find people? Like, where's the feed or whatever? And I guess it's
Are you technically a millennial? No.
There's like
you're like on the cusp.
I'm on the cusp. There's like a range where some people say, like, I think what I've heard is it's like 82 is like that end. But
and you are
83. So like I would be.
So you are a millennial.
Yeah,
technically.
Yeah, well, but that I don't. It's hard to say technically because some people say it's 85, right? So it's like there's a range between 82 and 85 where people say like that's the cutoff.
Gotcha.
So I definitely, because I don't know what actually defines millennial, except for that cutoff date. Like I definitely grew up in a world without internet all the time.
Yeah.
You
get a half pass.
Yeah, that's fair. We had consoles that weren't connected to the internet.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Can you believe that? Yeah. You couldn't just, you want to do multiplayer? Come over.
Yeah.
I got an extra controller.
Y'all ever do the blanket in the middle of the screen so that you couldn't screen peek? You ever do that?
Did we do that?
Dude, me and my buddies used to have to do that. We used to get duct tape and tape like a blanket, and like one person would sit up above the blanket and one would be below so you couldn't screen peek.
What games were you playing for that? Like
GoldenEye
or something like that?
GoldenEye 007,
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because you'd
you'd screen peek.
Like that
or
helps.
even like the first like Call of Duties or whatever on like the PlayStation 2
I see.
Yeah. We're just not going to let it end, are we?
Yeah, okay. We can end now. I'm done.
I don't want to end. I mean, but I do, but I don't. Yeah. But there's just so much to talk about, but we'll leave it up to the next one. I think next week we're going to be talking a bit about generalization versus specialization, probably.
Yeah, probably. That's an interesting topic for me.
Wherever it goes. Follow us. Check us out on all the social medias. Thanks for the support on the podcast, and we will see you guys next week.